you want to tell us a little bit about your work in Africa?
Well, yeah, I suppose I'm one of the few people that moved from South Sudan to Cork. So I joined Concern after the genocide in Rwanda. So spent 5 or 6 years working in the Great Lakes region, kind of between Rwanda, Zaire, that doesn't exist anymore, back into DRC, some time in Tanzania and Kenya, in South Sudan, and then also a bit of time in Southeast Asia as well, in Laos and Cambodia.
War-torn countries.
Yeah. A different life.
Was that around the time that there was actually, like, there was war there when they were killing each other? There was, there was a dictator there, wasn't there?
I went into Rwanda just after the genocide. So the genocide would have happened in 94, so I went in 95. And I would have been, when war broke out in Zaire, I would have been there as the transition from Zaire into DRC. But I suppose I would have been in Rwanda as well at that time, on the southern border.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, can you explain what that genocide was? It was a huge number of deaths in this very small period of time.
Even to try and begin to explain it, it's a very complex process. But yeah, there was, and I suppose you're looking at a lot of upset. You're looking at a generational oppression. You're looking at control. You're looking at a lot of pieces of power and power imbalancement, and then with that come fractions and fraction within the community. But I suppose the last set of genocide, the last form of the genocide in Rwanda, which was 25 years ago now, would have been there was such bred out of fear and a distrust and power and control, and I suppose there was just so many messages and mixed messages of distrust that it destroyed a whole country, destroyed a population. It brought them to the edge, and amazingly they've been able to bring themselves back.
Yeah, and what you have really, it's a couple of 100,000 deaths in a couple of nights, really. Yeah,
over space, and quite a physical death, because a lot of the killings were by machete, so it was very hugely traumatic. There was an awful lot of.
What's it like coming from
the legacy of that, and the legacy of the people involved in it that fled, the legacy of feeling you didn't have a choice in it, the legacy of the damage, the legacy of the power and the control, the legacy of your family being taken out altogether in the process, the legacy of you watching that happen, the legacy of you knowing that it was your neighbours that were involved in it. There's untold legacies that that as a society you have to make amends and you have to come to terms with. But first and foremost, I suppose when I was there, it was much more about the survival, about I know you talk about in relation to addiction. If you're not alive, you can't you can't do anything, and it's the same within the Rwandan context, that unless we needed to be able to support people to work through for themselves.
Did that help you in terms of what happened over there, Sheila? Did that kind of make you want to come home and help out the Irish people? It's in what you're doing now in terms of helping people coming from prison, and
I don't know so much of that. When I think for me there, I got a better understanding of man's inhumanity to man, and then man's humanity, and what the greatness of people, what we can live with, what we can survive, what we can do, what we can face, and what forgiveness actually is, and how what that feels like and what that looks like. When you're looking at multiple traumas, repeated traumas over and over again, how do you survive that? And watching people survive that, and watching them find their new way of being in that, and watching the people who are there to support them to do that as well, and see how that happens. It was a hugely empowering piece, but it really, for me, I suppose it can make you not believe in humans at all and not believe in goodness. For me, it was an absolute proof of goodness, because I was there after. I saw what people could do. I saw how people could bring themselves back. I saw the caring nature of people, and that, I suppose, it gave me a compassion and understanding of how you how you walk into, how you find yourself in that space, and how do you take and the frighteningness of that, and how powers from outside can control that, and how you bring yourself back.